Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now August 4th of 2025, and given that the Meghan Markle fiasco is still very strong both behind the scenes over at Netflix and even in the public eye, it's only getting worse as the weeks roll by, in the middle of reshoots for With Love Meghan Season 2, which by the way are nearing an official end as we speak. But what's interesting here has a lot more to do with Meghan Markle's recent behavior and how she's been acting very erratic, especially after the Netflix cancellation and firing, and how her contract deal will not be renewed beyond September of this year. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, one thing about Meghan Markle is that she always tends to be very much greedy, self-absorbed, and, as always, narcissistic. That's exactly why everyone likes to say that she's insufferable. That's why even many Netflix, of course, crew members view her as very difficult to work with, and it's been nothing more than a nightmare for the crew and for the cast to work with her on the set of Season 2, or as I like to call it what it really is, Part 2 of Season 1. Now, what's interesting here has a lot more to do with, of course, her recent behavior that I think really does hit rock bottom. It just goes to show you how Meghan Markle really is truly beginning to spiral in a very, rapid downward fall right now. We already know that Meghan Markle doesn't know what to do anymore in Hollywood because all these studios are outright rejecting her. They want nothing to do with her ever again, or if at all. And now, this is where it really begins to actually spin out of control when it comes to her actual connection between herself and Netflix CEOs Greg Peters and Ted Sarandos. Now, with the Meghan Markle fiasco at Netflix getting worse every single day, especially after her contract deal with Netflix was cancelled, one major development going on now involves more to do with Meghan Markle's recent outburst toward the tail end of reshoots for With Love Meghan Season 2. Now, this actually involved how Netflix executives and the producers and Ted Sarandos, the CEO, put together an entire audience that consisted, get this, of the entire cast and crew to watch roughly 3 episodes of the current edit for the next season. This is a special thing that CEO Ted Sarandos put together, something that Netflix usually never does, by turning their cast and crew essentially into an audience to actually screen the first batch of episodes. In this case, it was the first 3 episodes. During the screening is when Meghan Markle reportedly broke down and even screamed at some of the crew members when Netflix was taking any feedback for improvements. Multiple members of the Netflix team that worked on the show pointed out major and serious continuity errors in episode 1 through 3, and even pointed out that Meghan Markle made some serious grammar mistakes with her English during some of the line delivery in some of the scenes. This is when Meghan Markle, while standing next to Ted Sarandos, decided to loudly raise her voice to the crew members that actually said that, informing them that their opinions don't matter and that they are nothing more than hecklers trying to create drama at this screening. The drama between Markle and the crew that brought up the issues with the edits of the series also got to a point where Meghan Markle actually yelled at the entire cast and crew and that they would not be here at Netflix if it wasn't for her, and that she deserves a big thank you. Nobody reportedly gave her a thank you after that outburst, especially, and this is what led to a moment where Meghan Markle stormed away from the private screening for With Love Meghan Season 2. Now, this was different than the typical screenings that took place weeks and weeks ago, something Netflix never did and was done by Ted Sarandos to actually get a honest feedback from all angles, including the crew that worked on the show specifically. Now, the crew and even the cast was reportedly very concerned over Season 2. Before Meghan stormed out from the private screening, she also gave the cast and crew a dire warning that if they act like this, giving negative feedback to her, they will never make it in this business, that they will never make it in Hollywood, which is when she ultimately left and never returned for the day. This all comes after Meghan Markle was fired from Netflix, basically, where all projects that were in line actually created as a contingency plan were indeed cancelled once her contract deal was actually scrapped. Now, look, one thing about all of this, when we talked about this, she was supposed to have a travel series, she was supposed to have a shopping series where she would actually buy high value attire, whether it's dresses, hats, shoes, stuff like that. She was going to have a lot of different shows on Netflix, and they were actually going to be a part of another contract deal, and that all fell apart, and she's getting 0 offers from Netflix. Ted Sarandos, Greg Peters, they don't want to deal with Meghan Markle again, and she's out as of right now. But Meghan Markle isn't letting it go. This is exactly why she is constantly actually bothering Ted Sarandos, begging for her to return, begging for a season 3 as a one-off project, and even a random one-off project. We'll get into that in just a second. But we all know one thing about this. The fact that not only did she call regular screeners some weeks ago as hecklers and those that are actually traitors and those that are actually just trying to stir up drama, but she also did it now against the cast and the crew that actually raised their own concerns in the internal screening for Netflix, and how a lot of crew members pointed out these major flaws, not just technical flaws and physical flaws at the show, but grammatical flaws for Meghan Markle, alright? When it comes down to her English and her line delivery. So that really speaks volumes. It really makes you wonder, were those moments of mistakes connected to any kind of a script, or was she actually just going off like just doing what she wants to do off script, or, engaging in any kind of improvised material? That may have been the case, because we know that reshoots, for the most part, have all been improvised material from start to finish. So I would not be too shocked if the grammar errors are connected to that. Now, the firing by Netflix reportedly got to Meghan's head, and she is acting very erratic with the cast, crew, and now even CEO Ted Sarandos, as she is still begging him to bring her back for a one-off show instead of another contract. Ted Sarandos reportedly is refusing. No matter how many times Meghan begs to return to Netflix, it's only stirring up more drama between Ted and Greg Peters. So again, we know that Ted Sarandos made the right move. I'm not a fan of the guy, I'm not a supporter of him. But I will say one thing, I think that he made the right call here to call it quits with the contract deal, to reject any offer outright by Meghan Markle or any kind of a demand or request to come back to Netflix after they canned her. And that is, one strong foot that he's actually, putting down into the ground right now and saying no to Meghan Markle. That's basically Ted Sarandos' attitude right now. Telling Meghan Markle, I say no, and you're out. That's basically what it is. So I would like to hear what everyone has to say about this, because one thing is for sure is that yes, we know that this new season, this new part, it's going to be loaded with cameos, alright? We know that episodes 1 through 8 has roughly 2 to 3 cameos per episode, and you can actually do the math. That's a lot of cameos when it comes down to season 2 for With Love, Meghan. And the fact that they were all also involved in this private screening, this internal screening at Netflix HQ, and how that miserably failed, just goes to show you how Netflix just wants to actually get this done and over with. If I were them, I would just cancel this thing. I would lock it up in a vault forever, never let it see the light of day, and save whatever's left of your image. That's basically what I would do. But they're not going to do that because they invested so much money into this thing. We're talking about a lot of money because it was part of her contract deal as well. But overall, I would love to hear what everyone has to say about this ongoing issue between herself, Ted Sarandos, and her overall recent behavior, how she's really truly going off the rails here as of late. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.